Om. Together. Om. Om. Let's do our chants. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhushcha Sakha, Tvameva Vedyadravinam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Who is it who came in? Maya. How are you? No Paulo tonight? No. Is he okay? I assume so. Right. Now, before I forget, I think I asked all of you to go on to the silentway.org website and go to the contact page and fill out the forms, because that puts you on our mailing list. And that's the only way I have of letting people know. We have a WhatsApp group, but I am not a social media person particularly. Can you give them the information on that?
On WhatsApp?
On WhatsApp?
Yep.
So that will help you. That's also another way to connect. The main thing, I forgot to mention this last week. This Saturday, we're having a potluck. I try to do these quarterly, every 3 months or so. Sunday is a major Hindu holiday, Shivaratri, Mahashivaratri. It's the celebration of the god Lord Shiva, who's over there on the table. That's usually a feast of penance. People stay up all night, they fast, etc. So we're having our party the day before. This is going to be a Hindu version of Mardi Gras. For those of you who are not Christian, Ash Wednesday starts the penitential season of Lent. And the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday is called Mardi Gras. People party. Fat Tuesday, it's called. So you're welcome to come 5 to 9 on Saturday. Bring vegan or vegetarian food. If you're daunted by that, come anyway. There'll be plenty of food. We will have vegan options for those of you who are vegan. I think that's about it. So last week, we finished up with there are two maps that Shankara gives us. The three bodies, the gross, subtle, and causal bodies. The Sanskrit is Stula Sharira, gross body, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, Karana Sharira, causal body. Then he gave us another map called the Panchakosha, the five sheaths. I think the easiest way to see those, have you ever seen those Russian nesting dolls? There's one big doll, and you take the top off, and there's a little smaller doll inside, and you take the top off, and then there's a smaller one. You ever seen those things? Mm-hmm. Or like they do with eggs sometimes. So that's kind of the idea, the gross body. Then there's the vital energy body, the pranamaya kosha, then the manomaya kosha, the mental sheath, the vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual sheath, then tiny one, the anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheath. It's inside. There's nothing there. Yet that no thingness shines as the light of pure awareness. And what was implied with this, it is very clear, or it is clearer for us to apprehend who we are when we're very clear about what we are not. So we're given this exercise in discrimination between the self and the not self, the subject and all the objects. Can you see the phone? Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. Listen very carefully. You don't get a different self. The Supreme Self is not flying up there in the air. I'm not going to channel my higher self or any of those sorts of things that a lot of different spiritual groups teach. When the scriptures say Atman, self, it's literal. My problem is not that I have a messed up self. My problem is I superimpose upon that constant, eternal, direct experience all sorts of deeply rooted, ignorant belief systems. So the process is to discriminate. So you see the phone? Who sees it? I do. Are you a phone? No. Did I turn it off? No, I didn't. So you can go through all the phenomenal objects. Nothing in the world. There is a subject-object relationship. Knower, knowing, known. That's called the triple factor, the triputi. Then we get to the body itself. Take a deep breath. In fact, you know the breath in the body. You are not the body. Energy. If you go to the gym and you work out and you've been eating right, you have a lot of energy. Or you go eat a whole lot of pizza, drink beer. Oh, low energy. But do not you see the energy rise and fall. You are not energy. Now, why does Shankara stress this? In the Raja Yoga tradition, people get deeply engaged in Kundalini, raising the energy, the snake that's become a staff. That is certainly a valid path. But the Supreme Self is not energy. Even more subtly. Who here perhaps has had an experience of Shakti? Spiritual power, spiritual energy. We would call it the movement of the Holy Spirit. in the Western traditions. Who's felt that at times in their lives? Did it have a beginning and an end? Did it have qualities and characteristics? Was it an object of cognition, as wonderful as it is? Not so. People can get all hung up and attached to blissful spiritual experiences. I want that energy. Manomaya kosha, where the feelings and the judgments happen, whatever the feelings are that go by, joy, sorrow, boredom, enthusiasm, love, anger. I know them. I am not my feelings. Thoughts, they go by like your hand in front of your face, or even better, the sound of the traffic going up and down Grand Avenue. I know the flow of the thoughts in the mind. I am not the thoughts. I'm the knower of the thoughts. And there's one particular complex of thoughts. Ahankara. Aham is simply the first person pronoun. Kara comes from the root kri, which means to make or to do. These are complexes of thought, feeling, memory that create the false self, usually translated as ego. Sanskrit's far more vivid. If I feel like a person, if I think I'm my body or my body plus the personality, that self has the real self as its substratum. But in fact, it's a complex of thought, feeling, impressions, and memories. And it's constantly changing. Remember, Shankara used the metaphor. The moon is in the sky. You've got a jar of water, and you see the moon reflected in the water. Oh, look, there's a moon in the water. I see the moon. And if someone goes like this to the water, the moon is broken. Has that done anything to the moon in the sky? No. The jar is like the physical body. The water is like the subtle body. The moon in the jar is fake news. It's a phony moon. It's chit chaya. It's the reflection of consciousness, or a shadow. Chitabhasa is a better word. That's a reflection of consciousness. It's not real. And that's why any attempt to secure it fails. How am I doing? Am I okay? What do they think of me? Now, here is where yoga goes beyond much of psychotherapy. Many therapists, psychologists will invite us to reframe ego. Oh, someone told me I'm a terrible person today. Well, let's reframe that. That's probably their projection. You know, they're having a bad day. They're going through all sorts of stuff. You are okay. You're a good person. That's reframing. We have a professional. Did I say that right? Maybe simplistically.
That's not for me to judge.
Okay. That always is doomed to only be temporary. No personal sense of self is real. So what Shankar has been inviting us to do, introvert the attentive faculty. And if you can slow the mind enough to see the space between your thoughts, just still the mind a little bit and notice the knower. And there's no person in there. Yet something shines as the pure subject, the light of pure awareness. And it never changes. Don't believe me? Look. All right, that's a review. And it's very important because it's kind of the heart of what Shankar is going to be teaching. Any questions about that and the process? So are we on 17 or 18, Mark?
18.
18.
Wait, Jim, that all makes sense to me. Then, and I don't want to get us too off track with this question, but like briefly, like when it comes to the mistaken sense of self, is that a uniquely human phenomenon?
I have no idea. Fortunately, I've had very poor conversations with non-human animals.
But from this tradition, like, do non-human animals? I can't imagine them having like a false sense of self.
Well, I think they do. I think most beings think they're their bodies. Now, I know some animals can recognize themselves in a mirror. You know, a dog doesn't. A dog sees its reflection in a mirror and it thinks that it rises to aggression. But gorillas, elephants can recognize themselves. I think porpoises can recognize themselves in a mirror. So they have a little bit more sophisticated self-awareness of ego. But what yoga says, and I have no way to verify this, that it is only humans who can see that which is beyond a personal sense of self. Now, what actually goes on in an animal's mind, I haven't the faintest idea. I can feel connection with them. So it's above my pay grade. I don't know if that's useful.
It is. Thank you.
All right. Number 18, please.
देहेन्द्रिया मनोबुद्धि प्रकृत्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्ति साक्षिणां विद्या आत्मनं राजवत्सदा. One should understand that the Atman is always like the king, distinct from the body, senses, mind, and intellect, which constitute the matter, Prakriti, and it is the witness of their functions.
Yes. Dehindriya, the senses in the body. So his metaphor here is not my favorite, but the idea in old-timey days, the Raja, the king, didn't do anything. The ministers did this, and the generals did that, and the servants did this. Everything was going on around him. He was sthita, still, seated, established. So the idea here is think of yourself as like the still point, and everything moves around you. You are not an agent. You are not the doer. You just illumine stuff. The sense of agency is lodged in the equipment. It's the qualities of mind and the force of the past. In the end, that's all it is. It's very mechanical. We feel like it's choice, but it's not. nearly as free as we think it is. I can remember very vividly, I was at a meditation retreat with my teacher, Swamiji. And another one of the participants came up and says, Swamiji, when are you coming to Allahabad? And he said, I go nowhere. Allahabad passes in front of me. That doesn't mean his physical body didn't go anywhere. It means the self in him, self in you goes nowhere. Life passes in front of me. What's the nature of life? I think of it like a sine wave. I get my joys and my sorrows, and my joys and my sorrows, etc. Listen very carefully. The spiritual life does not mean that we are going to hit all the green lights of life. God is not Super Santa Claus. But it does mean the good times and the challenging times happen, and we can maintain an equanimity, a serenity, a peace of mind in both. All right, next verse.
Sometimes, Jim, I feel like I'm confused between the peace of mind and, something that you don't want happens and you feel really sad about it. Like, how can sadness and peace of mind coexist?
Well, we are sad when we experience loss. We experience loss and get sad when we have an investment in the outcome. To the degree that we can begin to let life happen on life's terms, the root of it is I still have a notion. Getting what I want will make me happy. Not getting what I want will make me sad. And that flies in the face of our direct experience. Our direct experience is nothing is permanent. All we ever get in life is work. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the karma paladata. What's that mean?
And the giver of the fruits of your labor.
Yes. All we ever get in life is work. Now, when Krishna is the giver of the fruits of action, it doesn't mean there's a God in the sky saying, I like bhavna. Yeah, I don't like the way you're parting your hair today. It's great. There's no such God. There's no such God. We do not get what we want. We don't even get what we need. What we get is the inevitable fruition of the force of the past maturing that is lost in the complexity of time. Who knows about the image of the Ashwatha tree? It occurs in Kathopanishad. It also occurs in the Bhagavad Gita. Do you remember that one, Bhavna?
Mm-mm.
It's the upside down tree of life, whose roots are above and its branches are below. But the idea of the roots above, simplistically speaking, today's results are caused by yesterday's karmas. That's caused by the day before, that by the day before. It's all interacting, and all these things is just lost in the annals of time. Where was the first vasana, the first impression? Who can say? But it never unfolds capriciously. And again, there's no neurotic God who's punishing people and rewarding people. All we have is our response versus our reaction in the now. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Does emotion have no more importance in our life than that?
Emotions are the flower of the human personality. Oh gosh. But where do we want to take our emotions? There's a wonderful word in Sanskrit, vairagya, which is usually translated as dispassion or detachment. The root is raga, which means passion. Anybody here listen to Indian music? What do you call the melodic formula that they use in Indian classical music? A raga. Have you heard that word before?
Mhm.
It's passion. Aragya means no feelings. This rock is aragya. Is the prefix which means not. You're a stupid rock. You're never going to amount to anything. It doesn't. Vairagya, the prefix is vi, which is a superlative. It means something that's taken to a higher level, it's transcendental. Sometimes it means the opposite. So, for example, we have in Gita, jnanam vijnanam cha. Jnanam, knowledge or understanding here. Vijnanam, wisdom or direct experience. We want both. So, vairagya is to take our emotional life to a much higher level. All I can say about it. It's not about shutting down our feelings. Now, those of you who took the basic course, do you remember the story I told about the tricycle and the bicycle? Yes? I'll tell it again. When you were a little kid, did you have a tricycle? Yes? Did you at some point get a two-wheeled bicycle?
Yes.
What happened to your passion for the tricycle once you got a bicycle?
Transferred. Maybe.
Hmm?
It transferred.
Did you care about the tricycle anymore? Not particularly, because you had something that was more fun, more rewarding. Let's see. This is what yoga is about. It's about taking our emotional life to a much higher level. Now, we're getting sidetracked a little bit, but I really want to address this question. In traditional Hindu families, if a loved one, a relative dies, a parent, a grandparent, a child, the tradition says to reread and study the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Does anybody's family have that particular tradition?
Yes.
Yes. It's tough, isn't it? Oh, it's hard teaching because Krishna's Arjuna, the spiritual every person protagonist, he's all upset because he's supposed to go into battle and kill his cousins and his grandfather and his archery teacher. And what does he want to do? Run away to the forest. And Krishna, who's kind of like a pre-Christian Christ figure, You want to put it as an avatar. Anyway, he says, don't be a wuss. Get up and fight. You got a job to do. And Arjuna goes, self-pity, self-pity, self-pity. And then Krishna goes, the only solution is to enlighten him right here on the battlefield. So that's what he does. And the first thing he says, which is verse 11, I think it's that one. You grieve for whom you should not grieve, though what you're saying is intelligent. The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. We're not supposed to feel sad if our mother dies. He didn't say that. And the whole rest of the chapter is the teaching about who or what dies. And if you deeply internalize that teaching, then you find nobody dies. Not really. The body falls off. But even the subtle body has a relative immortality. And the real self is unborn and undying. So if you live from that place as a direct experience, then you experience life differently than the person who hasn't experienced that. I'm going to tell you a true story. So we're going back 1987, maybe 88. And I had a student, fellow named Stanley, who had AIDS. And some of his friends, because he'd been in class, were in my Bhagavad Gita class, which was on Wednesdays in those days. And I had told Stanley's partner that when Stanley gets close, please call me. I want to be there when he makes his transition. So I got this phone call. This is before cell phone or iPhones, And it was Nick. And he says, Stanley's going. It's right in the middle of my Gita class. So this was my intuition. Now, Stanley happened to only live 3 blocks away. The whole class, there was probably 10 or 12 of us. Over to Stanley and Nick's place. And his parents are there, and Stanley's in the bed. So my whole class is seated around it and all tuned up into deep meditation. And when the mind gets that still, you begin to see things on other levels. And you could see Stanley's physical body in the bed, but above it was like this shimmering where the subtle body was. There's just a little thread where he was hanging on. And then he went through the process. I won't go into the particulars, but when finally the silver cord broke, his last breath, the subtle body, and we were all in meditation, not touching him or crying over him or any of that sort of stuff, just being as present and deep as we could be. And as he transitioned, that shimmering body just went. I looked across the bed. My friend Howard was on the other side. He was a dear friend of Stanley's. His eyes were as big as saucers, and he had this grin from ear to ear. Now, you can experience death this way, but most of us don't yet. But it isn't shutting down our feelings. No way. When Swamiji died, people say, "Oh, Jim, aren't you devastated that Swamiji died?" And I said, "No, he didn't go anywhere." But you have to have that as your direct experience before it's a reality. I don't know if this is useful, but we have to honor the feelings we have. Our feelings are not wrong. If we're experiencing loss and we're sad, then we might want to investigate. What's that about? I can only tell you for me, it's I have an attachment or an identification usually, or a deep misunderstanding about the nature of life. Just a different way to look at things. But no, we do not want to shut down our feelings. Suppression is not an effective spiritual tool. If you are suppressing your feelings, you will get depressed. That's what happens. This work should give us more freedom, more joy, more life. Even a little of this work in time should improve the quality of life. All right, next verse.
Vyapreta, vyaprete, vyapreteşvindriya yeshvatma, vyapari va vivekinam, drishyate prishu dhavasvatsu, dhavanniva yatha shashi. The moon appears to be running when the clouds move in the sky. Likewise, to the non-discriminating person, the Atman appears to be active when it is observed through the functions of the sense organs.
Yes, so I love this one. So if you look up at the sky in the evening and there are clouds and there's a high wind, you watch the clouds blow in front of the moon. There's a bit of an optical illusion. It looks like the moon is moving. My favorite modern example of this is MacArthur BART station. So there's 4 trains at the MacArthur BART station. And if you're in the one heading towards Berkeley, and then there's a train next to you, and both trains start to go at the same time, and then yours is a little bit faster, the other train looks like it's going backwards. No, it's not going backwards. It's an optical illusion. So because in my mind, I attribute to myself the qualities of the not self, the body, the mind, the intellect. When those move, and they always move, in my mind, I think I am a failure. I am successful. I have gained what I want. I have lost what I want. I am happy, I am sad, I am smart, I am stupid. I understand, I don't understand. I know what's right. I don't know what's right. These are all qualities of the upadhis, we call it, the equipment, the robot. But the real self stands still, never touched by. Now, many of us, even before we've practiced yoga, get an understanding of this in the world. So, like sound is a manager, aren't you?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, when your subordinates come to you and they have problems, do you get all in their stuff emotionally and suffer with them?
No,
What do you do?
I try to solve the problem.
Yeah, you have compassion. You certainly know. I mean, it's not like you're mean or shut down, but you stay solution oriented. You have a kind of detachment from it. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah. All of us have that. A mother who has a youngster who's Dolly, her arm fell off. This arm is broken. You can feel with the child, you know it, but you don't suffer with the child the way the child may be suffering. So we have to practice this. It's not about shutting down. It's about really coming to grips with a reality. Nothing ever really touches me. But if I lose my discrimination and I superimpose upon myself the qualities of the not self. Remember our story of the snake and the rope. First is the non-apprehension of the rope. Then there's the subsequent superimposition of the snake. Once I see the rope, the snake no longer frightens me. There's no snake there. Once I see myself, the thought that I am insecure, I need to be protected or defended, is gone. It's gone. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Atma Chaitanyamashritya Dehendriya Manodhiya Swakriyartheshu Vartante Suryalokam Yatha Janaha. Depending upon the Atman, which is of the nature of consciousness, the body, senses, mind, and intellect engage themselves in their respective activities, just as men work depending upon the light of the sun.
Yes. So in old-timey days, people would get up when the sun came up, work when the sun was out. When the sun goes down, you go back home, you retire from your labor. So also it is the light of consciousness that causes the body, the mind, the senses, the thinking to take place. It is the life principle. A modern metaphor that I like, Swamiji used to use, is electricity. Electricity is not light. Electricity is not emotion. Electricity is not sound. But the light bulb without electricity is inert. The fan without electricity has no motion. The stereo without electricity cannot sing. But when there is electricity contact, the bulb lights up, the fan moves, the stereo sings. So also, again, there's this marvelous word that Gita uses, asparsha yoga. The root is prichati, which means to touch. So the participle is sparsha, means touched. Asparsha means untouched. Yoga means joined or united. So it is the touch of the untouched that causes the body, the mind, the intellect, the senses to function. Yet the consciousness is never touched by. There's a very famous hymn of Shankara called Brahma Jnana Vali. And it goes, Asangoham, 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 Puna, Puna, Sachidananda Rupoham, Aham Evaham Avyaya. Asangoham, I am unattached. Asangoham, I am unattached. Asangoham, I am unattached. It means practice it. Puna, punaha, again and again. Satchidananda Rupoham. My nature is Sat, pure existence. Chit, pure awareness. Ananda, for now no sorrow touches it. Aham eva, aham, I am that I am. Avyaya, immutable. Just gorgeous, gorgeous hymn. But we have to prove this to ourselves. Throughout the first fall in our meditation seat, introvert the attention. Keep noticing the knower. See if yourself ever undergoes a change. Mind you, if you see a quality, subject object, that's not self. Maybe a quality of the body or the mind, but it's not self. And if you can, through the day, keep checking it out. Are you sad, or are you the witness of a sad mind? It's a big difference. And even if the sadness is there, I promise you, it is a created thing, a manifested thing. It has to pass. It cannot continue to last, to exist. Nothing does. It will pass. Trishya Viveka, the discrimination between the seer and the seen. Atma vichara. Vichara comes from the root vich, to winnow, to separate the wheat from the chaff. Separating the self, the kernel, from the chaff, the not self. Next verse.
Dehendriya guna karman yamale satchidatmani adhyasyantya vivekena pragane nilatadivat. Fools, because they lack in their powers of discrimination, superimpose on the self of the nature of absolute existence knowledge all the varied functions of the body and the senses, just as they attribute blue color and the like to the sky.
Yes. So you look up, oh, there's a bowl above us, a big blue bowl that someone's painted blue. No. It's light functioning through or striking the water vapor in the atmosphere that makes it appear blue. So that's what happens in my mind is adhyasa, superimposition. Now, even without yoga, we may have friends who are attached to being part of a particular youth culture. Anybody here ever been a goth when they were young or know anybody who was a goth? Yes? No?
Me a bit.
Huh?
Me a bit.
Okay, what did goth kids wear?
Anything that's not what everybody else wears. Preferably dark and creepy.
Dark and creepy. So if someone was having a wedding and you were a bridesmaid and they wanted you to wear a long green formal when you were in your goth phase, how would you feel?
I would not have liked that. I would have gone through with it, but it would have felt like sacrificing some part of myself.
Yeah. Oh, so you're a dress. You see what I mean?
Mm-mm.
You're not what you wear. But we get, as kids especially, very identified with a look. And all dimensions of culture have that. I mean, I'm old. I remember the 70s. I had big hair and I had a velvet coat with no lapels and a gold chain with a big locket and big velvet bell bottoms and platform shoes.
Wow.
Yeah. And a mustache.
We need to see some picture.
Thank God they don't exist. But the point is, that was styling.
Yeah.
And now I go, oh my God, I can't believe I wore that stuff. But we thought it was hot, you know. Or when the young guys now, they shave it really close on the sides and it's kind of long. Now they have the broccoli haircuts. I guess that's the new one. But you know, it used to look like there was a dead animal on top of their heads. And I'm like, my God, you know, this is cool, this is hot, you know. If I can't have my hair like that, it's not me unless I have that. So even something as simple as our clothing, we get identified with. And we get identified with the body. You may have maybe a year where you're the right weight your hairstyle is the right, then okay, cool. Before that, you were too young, too skinny, stuff like that. Then after that, oh, I'm getting a paunch, and all that. So you get your 15 minutes. And usually we're too self-obsessed to appreciate it. But Shankar is saying that's always our problem. It's not the clothing. It's the body. It's the history of the body. Where I've been, what I've done, what I know, who I know, my mind states. Now, this is a very interesting point. Frequently in the scriptures, when we talk about attachment, we usually think of it to sensory experiences. Oh, I'm attached to drugs and alcohol. No, I'm attached to money. I'm attached to attention. We can actually be attached to our suffering. It's familiar. We can get an identity. I'm a suffering person. I've had it so bad. I've had this trauma. I've had this terrible experience. And we can get locked into that ego identification. And what he's saying here is it's adhyasa. It's superimposition. And again, listen carefully. It's not the opposite idea. It's not going from an unlovable person to a lovable person. You're not a person. You are witnessing consciousness. Don't believe me. Don't believe Shankara. Look. What verse are we on?
22.
18, 19, 20, 20. Okay. Next one.
Ajnanan manasa sopade kartavritvadini chatmani kalpyante pugate chandre chalanadi yatham bhasaha. Due to ignorance, the tremblings that belong to the water are attributed to the reflected moon dancing on it. Likewise, the agency of actions and so on are delusively understood as the nature of the self, Atman.
Yes. So again, one of his favorite images, the reflection in the water in the jar. Now, my favorite, you got to imagine that you're in Kerala, and Abhavna, you were just in Kerala, right? Did you see any Nambudri houses?
Yes.
Describe one.
Big courtyard in the middle. Um, very low eaves.
And did it have a porch
Yes, a big porch.
with columns, right?
That's right. And usually a swing. A swing and a big armchair.
Yes, yes. And was there a tank or a lake or something nearby?
There's lots of backwaters in Kerala.
Where did the women, was it plumbed? Did it have running water, or did they have to go get water?
No, it's plum now.
It's plumbed. But in old-timey days, what the ladies would do, they'd have these enormous jars. They're about 4 feet tall, clay jars, and they'd put them on their heads, and they wouldn't even touch them. Sometimes they had a little cloth ring that they'd put on their head, and they set the jar up, and they'd walk to the river and back with this water, and then that was the potable water for the day. And so you got to imagine Shankara, there he is in the evening, because it's hot during the day. Kerala has 3 seasons, hot, hotter, and hottest. So in the evening, he'd be teaching, it'd be a full moon, and there's these 6 water jars. And if you look into the water jar, there are 6 moons. With only 1 moon in the sky. The jar is like the physical body. The water is like the subtle body, the mind and the intellect. The reflection of the moon in the water is like the ego. The self is the moon. So, how many of us are here tonight? 1, 2, 3. I can't count. How many?
7.
7 of us. 7 water jars. 7 collections of water, meaning subtle bodies. 7 people thinking, I am Jim, I am Bhavna, I am Liam, etc. That's the moon in the water. But there's no moon in the water. There's a moon in the sky, 1 moon. And if I go like this to the water, oh, the moon is broken. Myself is happy, sad, good, bad, just, unjust, right, wrong, successful, failure. But if we slow down the mind, we have to come to a place called chitta shuddhi, purity of mind. Kind of slow down. You move too fast. You got to, anyway. Turn the mind within, the attentive faculty. Notice the knower. All 7 bodies are different. All 7 subtle bodies are different. All 7 reflections of consciousness. The Chidabhasa, the fake self, are different. They move in different ways. But something there is which is the illuminator of them all. And the self in me is not like the self in you. The self in me is the self in you. 1 moon in the sky, 1 self. My problem is, I think I'm this reflected self, caught in the web of thought. Any attempt to fix the self is at best temporary. Get out. See its fundamental unreality. All right, we'll do 1 more.
Rage cha sukha dukkhadi buddhau satyam pravartate shushuptau nasti tannashe tasmat buddhestu natmana. attachment, desire, pleasure, pain, and so on are perceived to exist only as long as the intellect or mind functions. They are not perceived in deep sleep when the mind ceases to exist. Therefore, they belong to the mind alone and not the Atman.
Yes. So this is to deal with the doubt, but it feels like I am happy, I am sad, I am successful, I am not successful. It feels like it's me. But our direct experience is it's not there in deep sleep. When the mind is folded up into its causal state. So they are not qualities of myself. Or we can say they are qualities of the little self, the ego self. But they're not qualities of I. One of the things Swamiji used to do in lectures, he'd be teaching to a scripture and then he'd stop and he'd go, "Shut up and get out." People would shudder. Some people thought he meant get up and leave the satsang hall. No, shut up the mind. Stop it. Don't believe your mind. Get out. Remember, you are Sakshi, the witness. You are Kutastha, as Gita says. Kuta can mean an anvil or a mountain. Use the metaphor of an anvil, it stays still. The horseshoes and the swords and the every implements change on it, but it doesn't move. Or with a mountain, the weather happens around the mountain, but the mountain is still. Statishtati means to stand. We actually get the English word stand from that root. So kutastha means immovable and still, while all the stuff goes on. And the Hebrew scripture says in the voice of God, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. What do you know? So is the self. Jesus said, he who has seen me has seen him who sent me. If we fiddle with the pronoun a bit, Jesus, what we would call in the Vedanta tradition, was in a full state of yoga. He who has seen I has seen him who sent me. I and the Father are one. He wasn't talking about his body. And Jesus, like every great Mahatma, is not the great exception, but the great example. These great souls show us what it is to be truly a human being. Okay, we'll stop here. Now, I want to give you a chant that we're going to start learning, which is the chant we do at the end. And I'll just do it myself tonight, and we'll practice it next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Purnam Adaha. Purnam means full or second. Adaha means that is full. Purnam Idam. Idam means this phenomenal world is full. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. From the fullness of that, the fullness of this has issued forth, has proceeded forth. Purnasya Purnam Adaya, when from the fullness of that, the fullness of this is taken away. Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Fullness alone remains. My prostrations to all the gurus.